Unit 7, Day 3 notes. Today we're going to talk about using inverse trig functions. If you're looking for an angle, you're going to use the inverse of the trig function. On your TI-83 calculator, you're going to push second and then the trig button. But we'll demonstrate that in class. Alright, first we're going to determine the value of x. If you notice, x is no longer a side, it's an angle. And it will be our reference angle. So when I look at reference angle x, I am showing the adjacent side, which is 14, and I'm showing the hypotenuse, which is 23. So since I have adjacent and hypotenuse, the only trig function I can use is cosine. So I can set up my ratio. The cosine of angle x is equal to adjacent, which is 14, over hypotenuse, which is 23. Sorry, 23. Now, if you want to find x, which is the angle, and isolate x, you're going to have to apply the inverse of sine, or sorry, the inverse of cosine to both sides. So cosine inverse, cosine inverse. So the cosine inverse is going to cancel out the cosine, because that's what inverses do. You'll learn a little more about that in algebra. So the cosine inverse cancels out cosine, leaving you only with x on the left side. And then now you have cosine inverse added to the right side. And we're going to find the cosine inverse of 14 over 23. And then we would grab our calculator, and we would, on the TI-83, you would hit second cosine for cosine inverse, and then type the fraction 14 over 23 and hit enter. But since I don't have the TI-83 to demonstrate for you right now, I'm going to use the standard scientific calculator on the computer. And then on the standard calculator, you have to do things in stages. So the first stage is find 14 divided by 3, 23. And you get that value. And then I'm going to apply the inverse to that. So here's my sine inverse button. And therefore my angle is approximately 37.5. 37.5 degrees. Don't forget your degree symbol. Alright. Now wants to determine the measure of angle BAC. So if I trace it, BAC, A is the vertex. So this is the corner that we're looking for. Well, we now know that x is 37.5. And x together with A, which is what we're looking for, will equal 90. So that means 37.5 with A is equal to 90. So let's grab our handy dandy calculator. And let's figure out what 90 minus 37.5 is going to give us. And it's 52.5. So that last angle in our picture is 52.5. So the measure of angle BAC is equal to 52.5 degrees. Ooh, that box was horrible. I apologize. Now it wants to know how long is side AB, which is this side here. You can find it a couple of ways. You can use Pythagorean's theorem since you have the hypotenuse and the adjacent, or you can use trig. Let's just use Pythagorean's theorem. And if we use Pythagorean's theorem, we have A and C. So we have 14 squared plus B squared is equal to 23 squared. So 14 squared is going to be 196, and 23 squared is 529. Then you have to subtract 196, so b squared is equal to 529 minus 196, 333. And then you have to take the square root of both sides. So b is about 18.25. All right. Now we're going to determine the value of x. First, x is the angle. And when I look at x, I have the side opposite, which is 83. And I have the side adjacent, which is 52. So since I have opposite and adjacent, I can use tangent. So tangent of x is going to equal opposite, which is 83, over adjacent, which is 52. And again, since x is my angle, I need to apply the inverse of tan to both sides. So tan inverse, tan inverse. So at the end of the day, x would be by itself, and tan inverse is now on the right-hand side. And we're going to apply it to 83 over 52. And we need to grab our handy dandy calculator to compute this. First, 83 divided by 52. We get 1 point, whatever. Now we need to do the inverse tangent, which is here. So it's about 57.9 degrees. Now you got to determine the measure of VLU, which is this missing angle here at corner L. You can do it the same way I did it in the previous example. So I'm going to leave that to you to finish. And then it wants to know what is the perimeter of this triangle and the area of this triangle. Well, first you need to find the missing side, LU, using Pythagorean's theorem. So when you find LU using Pythagorean's theorem, then for your perimeter, you need to add all three sides. For the area, however, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to show you what to do. For the area, you're going to take the base times the height. And the base is LV. The height is UV. So multiply those two together for the area. So again, you need to finish number 2 and number 3 and take a picture. And then I'll work number 1 with you here, and then you also will work number 2 by yourself. So here's angle X. We have side 14, which is opposite, and 28, which is the hypotenuse. So we can use sine. So the sine of X is equal to 14 over 28, opposite over hypotenuse. And I know I'm going to have to apply the inverse of sine to get X by itself. So X is going to equal sine inverse of 14 over 28. So that will be approximately 14 divided by 28 is half. And now I need the inverse sine. So it's 30 degrees. So X is 30 degrees. Now you can do number 2 and take a picture. And this concludes your notes for today.